I knew there was a main water leak in this house when I first bought it. I'd gone into the crawl space. I saw the galvanized pipe coming in. It looked minimum 50, 60 years old. It was reasonably obvious there was going to be a water leak. But the meter had a lock on it. I couldn't prove it. I tried talking to the bank a little bit, but there was no real way to prove that the water leak was there. We had the water district come out, take the lock off. We turned water back on, and almost immediately in the backyard, we saw water shooting up out of the ground. This house had 7 different galvanized hose spigots to water different parts of the property, animals, whatever it might have been, even though it's only on 1/3 of an acre, so that is still a very excessive amount. But got it to stop leaking. We were thinking we were all good. But then later in the day, I walked outside. I saw what basically was the size of a tennis ball of wet mark right near the water meter. Then it was leaking where it turned. Then as you come down here, it was leaking here too. So we called 811. In Utah, it's where you call before you dig. So they'll mark the utilities. They'll come out and do all of that type of stuff so that you can dig safely. And so I called up Glenn, one of my friends. I asked him if I could borrow his excavator to replace the main water line. He said, of course. The one unique thing he did when he dropped it off that morning is he sent me a text saying it was addicted to starting fluid. It worked out great. Troy got the excavator started. We dug down about 1 foot in front of the water meter. As we got down to about 3.5 feet, we found the water line. We hand dug around it, found the 90 that was leaking. We were a little bit happy to see that it was CTS pipe.
Oh, it's a CTS line. Bitchin'.
But the brass coupler that was on it was leaking. Obviously, whoever initially did the job maybe didn't quite do everything correctly that he should have. So we got that leak repaired, turned the water back on. There was another obvious leak. So we'd already fixed 2 leaks. It was already starting to get late. Sun was starting to go down. Not the situation you want to be in, but it did still look like there was so much water coming in the sides of our hole that the leak had to be reasonably close and it had to be straight up from where this pipe 90'd. So it made it kind of fun. At that point, we pretty much gave up because right there where it leaked, it was another fitting and this fitting went to galvanized. So we knew the rest of the pipe going into the house to all the different spigots were all galvanized from there. We didn't necessarily want to have any 90s in our water line because, as you can see, as what happened to whoever did this work, he had leaks at both of his 90s, he had leaks at his main, and so we dug up basically the entire front yard so that we could run the water line, angle it to the north side of the house, and then gently run along the north side of the house to go into the house. Now, because the foundations aren't overly deep here, and I wanted to keep the pipe deep because even though the frost line should only be 30 inches, because it was on the north side of the house, I wanted to keep the water line at least 36 inches underground. So we kept it 36 inches underground, and then as we turned into the house, that meant that we actually came into the house underneath the foundation. And so it was kind of fun because we took and replaced all of the galvanized and everything with the CTS pipe, put in the compression brass fittings, did all of that type of stuff to ensure that it was going to be perfect and that this water line should never leak. And I can't afford to have any of my fittings leak because I need this house to last forever with all the effort I'm putting into it. And so when you're replacing your water line, you want to make sure that you are following each of these things. You know where your frost line is. You're calling blue stakes or 811 where whatever it is around you so that you're not going to hit anything while you're digging. You want to follow all of the different precautions so that you can make sure you are doing everything exactly the way that you should. So although it was a major inconvenience, wasted basically an entire day of what we were trying to get done, it was absolutely worth it to get that water line replaced because the galvanized that we pulled out not only had lead in it once we tested it, but it had a layer of film, just disgusting film that you could put your hand in and literally it would scrape off on your finger throughout the entire pipe. And so because again, with healthy water and air, I care so much about my air and water quality that all we did was make sure that we replaced every last aspect of it. Everything is now in the CTS. We're not going to be absorbing stuff from our galvanized and having that leach into the water. We're going to be able to have good, healthier water being delivered to our water softener, our water filter, heater, all of that type of stuff.